charge me, you in charge. Pick up me, leading with confidence and strength. Experience, excellence and saint. Take charge me, you in charge. I like how me and Molly does represent this country here to the end. Take charge me, you in charge. Pick up me, leading with confidence and strength. Experience, excellence and saint. Take charge me, you in charge.
Boy, look at things down in the farm. This is a crowd that is red. That is red. That is red and ready. We have a few days left to go. A few days left to go. And we will take nothing for granted. Because we have come to be able to keep this country going up and up and up. And to keep you stronger and stronger and stronger. And I want you to know that I am so pleased. Neil, I was at a sport meeting in my constituency, and I caught the last bit of your speech. And I listened to you, Neil, outline in detail what you have done for this constituency. And may I say that I want to salute you tonight, because you did all of that while being under the most immense and tremendous pressure that any human being could be under. And you know, one of the things that I was happy about is that your matter was able to be finished and that you were judged by a group of your peers in the law courts, and that those people determined your innocence. But throughout it all, you remain steadfast and focused on representing the people of St. Michael Northwest, and that is character. That is strength. And that is representation that deserves to be returned to office. All the years we are coming here and we have seen you. You didn't just start caring about the people for St. Michael Northwest when you became MP. And you have had that disposition that allows you to see people and work and look out for people. You don't need to be in any battle with any leader of any party. You don't need to be running a separate campaign in St. Michael Northwest, because you are a full and integrated member of the Barbados Labour Party. Now, I wish I could say the same about the other person who is running down here. And the fact that I can see on my social media meetings being announced and the leader can't even get a place on it. It ain't a spot meeting. But he holding big meeting and everybody outline like if it is a national platform. And the one person not on it is Ralph Thorne. Well, Neil, I suspect you went and talked to him. I suspect Ryan learned from you. And I suspect that you told him, you know, I made the mistake of believing that Ralph was genuine to me. And you learned the hard way. And if ever there was a time for me to let it go again, it is here in the farm. Because Ralph Thorne is not a nice person. And I understood that fully when Neil's matter came up. We have, in every profession, there's something called professional courtesies. Doctors don't charge doctors. Lawyers don't charge lawyers generally. In politics, if you belong to the parliamentary party and somebody gets into anything, everybody does what? And comes together to help. So that when we saw Ralph saying he was helping Neil, we assumed, cool, he's helping Neil, he's a lawyer. I even stepped back out of the whole thing, only to find out when the things start to get close to come into the High Court, I see Neil Cochin, and I asked the rest, wait, what really going on here? And the General Secretary of the Labour Party came and brought me an invoice that Ralph wanted to charge Neil to go in the High Court. $140,000. And it said to me, what kind of man is this? You don't do that to people when they're down. But I also have come here to talk straight to you, because you are the first that will tell me that when you have somebody who is with you, walk with you, you help lift them up, you help them get the seat that they got, because he don't like a lot of work, he don't like a lot of canvassing, he don't like a lot of people. I say so, because I know what it took us to land him in that seat in Christchurch South, not once but twice. And then when you look around, any and everybody can fall out. Any and everybody can have a difference. But when you have a difference with somebody, the decent thing to do is what? To go in front of them and say, this is my position. Mia, I don't like what you're doing. Prime Minister, I disagree with X or Y. But when we find out that you plotting and planning for weeks and months, and we calling you to meetings, we call him to a meeting to discuss Neil's matter. Neil, tell them. I call you to a meeting, you, me, Jerome, Reggie, and Dale. And we call Ralph, and Ralph refused to answer the phone. Refused to answer the phone. All this time the man was still in the Labour Party, you know. And I said to you that you are going to tell me that all of a sudden at 68 you change your spots? Well, a leopard don't change the spots. Want to know that? And if I have to remind you of what is at stake, ask Ryan Walters why he running his own campaign, why he putting up billboards on his own, why Richard Seeley running his own campaign, why Ian Griffith, don't mind, he ain't getting nobody to talk to down there. If you're undertaker, you're accustomed talking to dead people. Why the boy Simon in St. Philip North running his own campaign, and when I know Pitbull don't take nothing from the body, he always running his own route. It is amazing. And I ask you tonight, if you were ever so inclined to go and put these people in office, you would now become the victim again of everybody pulling left, right, up, down. And who will be the people suffering? It will be the people of Barbados. So that to run a country in good times, you need unity. To run a country in challenging times, you need even more unity and discipline. And that is what is lacking in the Democratic Labour Party today. The people that built your party, you locked them out. And you locked them out, not even from a political meeting, you locked them out from a church service. Who does that? People like Big Heather, people like Miss Mop, people well known to people in this constituency, and you lock them out. And in the meantime, what is the Barbados Labour Party doing while all of this is happening? You're getting buses 121. Your children going back to university and the community college and the polytechnic for free. You turn around and you're getting garbage trucks. You turn around and those who working in the farm for minimum wage before, that was at $6.25, now getting $10.71 per hour while the Dems in George Street fighting. You understand? That we turn around and we take you and the $650 reverse tax credit that you were getting when we come in, you're now getting $1,300. And last Saturday in Golden Square, I announced that that will go to $1,700 come December this year. Nobody likes to be on welfare, but sometimes the circumstances of life put you there. And that is why in 2020, in the middle of COVID, we looked at the amounts that were being paid and we said, no, that is not enough for people to sustain themselves and their families. And we increased it by 40%. And as of the 1st of March next month, we are now carrying that up by another 30%. So that if you were getting $300 before, you're going to get $390. And if you were getting $200, you're going to get $260. And these are not idle promises. Look at the manifesto. And tomorrow you will have the mini manifesto all about the place too. So that if those who don't want to look into the big buck, you can look into the small one and know what we have committed to. And every night on the platform in this campaign, I have spoken to this issue because we do not intend to hide. If you re-elect us next Wednesday and we form the government again, there will be a budget next month. And all of these things that I talk about, the increased reverse tax credit, the people who earn it between $2,080 a month and $2,916, when I should know the numbers by now, I calling them every night. You effectively will not pay income tax in this country. All of this, because whatever you pay, you get back in a lump sum. And the economists call it a compensatory income credit. I call it a government meeting turn. Wanna know what a meeting turn is? You put in your money, tell them, Livy, month by month by month by month, and when the time done, you do what? You draw back out all the money. But we ain't stopping there, because there are people who are earning between $2,916 a month and $4,166. In other words, between $35,000 a year and $50,000 a year. And we have said, look, we are going to give you the same benefit of the people who now draw the government meeting turn. So that if you are earning, for example, $4,000 a month, you will be able, when you pay $270 every month in tax, $270, $270, $270, $270. When you file your income tax returns in the April, you will be able to draw down by October $2,875 come back to you in your pockets. You can then go and do something, repairs in the house, or gets the car repaired, or go and buy something that you've been planning, go and get a new settee, go and get anything that you've been planning about, a new fridge. That is a government that sees you. And all the time that we doing this, the Democratic Labour Party still fighting and breaking up the place to the point where Errol Barrow will be crying in his watery grave tonight. Can they form a government behaving that way? And I say to you tonight that I need you in this community to recognize that Neil Rowe is who made a difference for Pile Bay to be fixed and be what it is today. That Neil Rowe has been the one making the case for people to get access to lands, and even in here in the farm, while you would have received some of the conveyances before, there were still people who have not yet received their conveyances. And the last bill that was carried to the Parliament of Barbados is a vesting bill to vest the units in those people occupying them so long as the surveys are completed. So that instead of you going to have to find a lawyer, a good lawyer like Tyra, you now can get the ownership of that unit without having to go and pay a lawyer money to get the deed put in your name. Tell me how much more this party and this government can do that allows you to save money in all that we are doing. But I say to you tonight that this campaign in the last few days is finally beginning to take on a different tone. Ralph has finally allowed himself to continue to become what we saw in him. A man that stands up in Parliament, and you know here how wrong it is to deprive people of food. A man that stands up in Parliament and says to you, "You hungry? You hungry? You hungry? I'm gonna starve you." Now, what kind of person could even contemplate that in the language it is acceptable to starve anybody? What kind of person? I say to you that when I come up here, my head is be studying how I can put more money in your pockets, how I can make you property owners in this country, how I can give you a fair deal in everything you do, how we can make Barbados safer. These are the things, how we can create opportunities for our young people. And Sluggy, I hear you. I heard you this week when you talk about the bureaucracy, and I am not big enough. I will listen. I am not too big to listen. And when it comes to us having to remove some of the bureaucracy, that is what we are about. When we came to office, many of you who needed a certificate of character to go and get a job had to wait 6 and 8 weeks, and the job gone long. Today, you can get a certificate of character within hours in this country. And that is what makes a difference to the lives of people. My friends, this has not been an easy ride. And you've seen it. You here would have seen more than most what Hurricane Beryl did when the 25 and 30-foot waves hit down from the harbor and all down the west coast, all on the south coast. And the damage that we face, not just with the fishing fleet, but with the fishing harbor. You have seen what the ashfall did in this country. It shut down the port for 7 days and the airport for 9 days. And 2 years later, government buildings were shutting down because the dust, the fine dust that went into the air conditioners and to a lot of the equipment were causing environmental problems in buildings. In 2023, we had over 38 government buildings shut in this country. And the engineers said a large part of it was because of the ashfall. All of these things we did, and not anybody carrying on or locking out anybody out of 111 Roebuck Street or locking out anybody. I don't expect everybody to agree with me. Neil would tell you, and the rest would tell you, that sometimes Trevor is getting Parliament and say things that I don't agree with. But Trevor is still a loyal member of the Barbados Labour Party, and I'm still his leader. Because you have to know how to spread a big tent and how to recognize that people are not everybody. We don't all look like each other. We don't all sound like each other. But the fundamental things that anchor us, our philosophy and our major programs, we agree on. But there are some issues that you will have a disagreement on. And I want you to know that that is what responsible leadership is about. But what we have from Ralph Thorne is a boy, what do you say, Deal? A boy, who is petty. And the worst thing for a leader is pettiness. Because pettiness will starve all the oxygen out of the room. And that is probably why he is so consumed with starving people. I want you to understand this. If a man cannot even organize a meeting and to keep the lights on in a meeting, how we can keep the lights on in the country? How? If a man cannot even organize his own campaign properly, how is he going to organize the government in the country? And I want you to remember this, that I don't come here to talk other than the fact of record. Ralph left Northeast without telling people anything when I beat him in the nomination. He left St. Michael North when he lost twice as a Dem in St. Michael North when he ran for Parliament. And he now turned around and left Christchurch South without telling the people down in there a single word. When the people of St. John take him on Wednesday and send him back packing from where he came, do you believe you can see Ralph Thorne again? You have answered the question. And I am not getting into the fact that he's 68, because men at 68 and 69, if they organize and got strength and vision and passion, can represent people. But I don't know that he has any of the above. I want you tonight to really study what is at stake on Wednesday. Neil Rowe is a member of the Barbados Labour Party government. And when, as I believe is likely to happen, that we are likely to be returned to office, I do not want the people of St. Michael Northwest looking in from the outside. I want to make sure that Neil, who has taken care of attending to the interests from the elderly to the youngest people in this community, to make sure that he is in there. And I want to say that there are some things that he has been fighting for, like the Deacon's Resource Center, that will be done, as I indicated last Saturday, in Golden Square. But what bothers me is that I am Prime Minister. The Labour Party is in government. And in spite of all of that, we come and give you a manifesto. And we give you a manifesto with 11 days out, so that 12 days, so that you could study it. You could lick it up, tear it out, push it up, analyze it, do what you want with it. Because you need to know what your government is talking about. Ralph Thorne hears the word transparency, but cannot properly put before this country a document that spells out in detail and to give you enough time to read it, to question it, to digest it, to go up on the call-in program and talk about it, because he takes you for granted, or he don't want you to see how shallow his recommendations are or how unaffordable they are. Because the easiest thing to do is to get up here and say that I'm going to reduce VAT to 15%. But the only body who benefits when VAT is reduced is not going to be you, the consumer. It's not going to be the government that loses the revenue. It is going to be the business person, because hardly ever do prices come back down when they go up. And I am the first to tell you that in our manifesto in 2018, we put it in there along with other things. And as soon as we came into office, all of the officials showed us and argued and told us, look, this does not work because the money does not go back down into people's pockets. And that is why in 2019, rather than reduce VAT, which we could have done, we chose to increase your reverse tax credit. We chose to reduce your income tax rates. We chose to reduce your land tax rates. And today, we continue to choose to increase your reverse tax credit. And those same people between $2,100 and $2,080 and $2,916 will now get a reverse tax credit in this country for the first time of $750, because it is better to put it in your pocket. And for the people who are pensioners, contributory, non-contributory, special grant receivers because you're disabled or your child disabled, or beneficiaries of welfare, we are going to give each of you $1,200 in a cost of living cash grant to help you offset it. And you can choose to take the $1,200 as a one-time for the year, or you can choose to get it $100 per month, or you can choose to get $300 every quarter, or you can choose to take $600 every half year. It is yours to deal with, and you don't have to depend on no merchant, no government, or nobody else to help you offset the cost of living in this country. Now, I have come on these platforms, and I have spoken to you about your well-being and welfare. To the extent that I have mentioned Ralph's name, it is about his lack of representation and his failure to engage with people. He went last night in Montgomery Pasture, just a little below where he lived, to say that he come in to unmask me. Well, Ralph, look at me. You don't need them unmasking because Bajans know me. I have been in public life in this country since 1988. 89, I became a nominated candidate at the age of 23. I am now 60 years old. And for 37 years, Bajans have known me. What you see is what you get. And I go further. If he had spent the time last night, instead of trying to unmask me in getting his manifesto ready, then you would be in a better position to know what the Democratic Labour Party has to offer in this country. But his whole idea is to duck. Well, Pat, bring the red bag for me there. Because, you know, I don't use this often. But if Ralph Thorne had spent his time working on the manifesto and being in a position to tell you what he wants you to do for him and why, because of the manifesto, he would have been better off. But I say to you tonight that, he say he hungry. He wonder if we hungry. Are you hungry? The one thing I know is that I am not going to starve you. And I will neither starve you with the DLP manifesto. You want the short version or the long version? I am almost tempted to tell you, carry a copy to Ryan Walters, because I'm sure he ain't see it yet neither, because he and Ralph don't talk. And you know what is amazing? This lady, to my certain knowledge, from the city of Bridgetown, is well known to me. And while she may have hugged Ralph then, I don't know that she's hugging Ralph now. And this other lady behind there, to my certain knowledge, like Tyra, was a young Dan. And like Tyra, came and resigned from the Democratic Labour Party and joined the Barbados Labour Party. Now, are you so desperate that you put on the cover people who have repudiated you and have said that they don't want anything more to do with you? And are you so consumed? There's one picture here that is so affected. I'm not going to bother with a lot of words, because the truth is that it is a lot of nothing and a lot of nothing because he can't afford to do half the things that he's doing in here. But who stands up like that? Who stands up like that? There was a picture that Ralph Thorne had on his profile with the wig that the lawyers is wearing that we stopped wearing about 30-something years ago. The man is called himself KC. Well, I can think of many more things that KC stand for instead of King's Counsel, but he calls himself a King's Counsel. The rest of us in a republic say senior. He got all of the affectations of a man who is more British than the king. And this is who wants to lead you in Barbados. Look, give me a chance here. Give me a chance. And believe you me, how do you plan to launch this on Tuesday in Gall Hill? Then you don't launch it, and you leave it deliberately to the last minute so that people cannot read what is in it properly. Well, I say to you tonight, look at it here and look at it here, because at the end of the day, you ain't missing nothing. When a man shows you who he is, believe it. And Neil, the only thing I'm sorry about is that you did not know about his behavior in Turks and Caicos, when, in fact, the man he was representing get convicted day before yesterday, the former premier. And Ralph, you could imagine you in court and you waiting for your lawyer to come. The case going on for months. And all of a sudden, the judge come in the court and tell you that your lawyer resigned by email? And the client looked at and said, my lawyer? Why ain't hear from my lawyer? My lawyer told me he's in Barbados. The man resigned by email without telling the client. The man left Christchurch South without telling the people of Christchurch South. The man left St. Michael North without telling the people of St. Michael North. The man left St. Michael Northeast without telling the people of St. Michael Northeast. The man left the Barbados Labour Party not once but twice without telling people. And the man left the Democratic Labour Party and David Thompson without telling them. The truth is, the only body that he is more consumed or was more consumed in hatred for, besides me, was David Thompson. But I agree with you, it might be himself too. Because if he look in the mirror like Mr. Barr telling to look in, you would have to tell me, how can you do those things and want to represent people? So my friends, the choice can never be clearer. Never. You can get a man who loves himself bad and affected and watching himself and trying to stand off looking pretty. Or you can get a party that is working for you. We're not asking you to believe in what we can do in the future because we've already delivered for you. We're asking you to allow us to continue. And you know what delivery has meant from this Barbados Labour Party government. We're asking you to recognize that we are the ones, not Ralph Thorne. Ralph has not come to Parliament and asked for your conveyances down here in the farm, in Rosemont, in Ferniehurst. Ralph has not been the one who went and tell you that the tenantry lands that should be conveyed at $250 a square foot should be conveyed. Ralph has not been the one calling for minimum wage to be able to go up. Ralph has not been the one making the difference where it matters. He is like a parrot on 2 or 3 issues, affected and acting like if he is on a stage, not even doing Bajan bus stop, but doing Shakespeare and Hamlet and all them British plays. That is what you have. And I ask you, when Wednesday comes, do not tell me that we're going to win already, because no ballot box opens with a single vote. Do not tell me that you don't believe that we need any more help, because we do. We live in a world now where Donald Trump and others are imposing tariffs and sanctions on people. And the one thing that a leader of a country must have is backative from their population. And if you can't show that backative, if you can't show that in the ballot box, then people will doubt. You have a leader. They say I travel too much, but when I travel, I only travel to bring back benefits for this country, including hundreds of millions of dollars in grant money. I ain't even talking about loans yet. But I know what it is to go in Golden Square and outline my vision for Barbados to Bajans in Barbados. I do not go on Trinidad and Tobago television and outline the vision for Barbados to Trinidadians living in Caroni and San Fernando and Laventille and Port of Spain. None of them can vote for him. So ask yourself why he would go up there first before even his election broadcast to you in this country. I feel that it has to do with campaign finance. But that is a story for another day. And last night I told Richard Seeley, cut it out when you're talking about us and the Jamaica Labour Party. We don't have any relationship at a political level. I get on with Prime Minister Holness and his cabinet. But our sister party is the People's National Party. That is why their leader addressed our conference in 2018 at Lodge School, Peter Phillips. Got the same name as Peter Phillips in St. Lucie. That is why, as opposition leader, I addressed their conference in Jamaica, in Kingston. And I want Richard Seeley to know, don't send the messages via me, man. If you want, talk to your leader, Ralph, who you can't get on with. And worry about the fact that it is Ralph who got the Jamaica Labour Party advising him through the company Market Me. Don't talk to me. Talk to Ralph directly. So you get confused with who is really advising who from Jamaica and who is really financing who from the rest of the region. I am here, and I have told you that what you see from us is what you will get. And believe you me, when Liz Thompson, Cynthia Bradshaw, Jerome Walcott, Dale Marshall, William Duguid, Kerry Simmons, and a few others of us were working day in and day out for 3 weeks on a manifesto, where were you doing your work? I have shown you where my manifesto is. It is in the hands of the people of Barbados. I have also shown you now where his manifesto is, awaiting another 24 hours before the Bajans can get to view it. If Ryan asks nice tonight, I will give this to Ryan Walters to show him what is in their manifesto, since he clearly does not know. My friends, Wednesday, February 11th will determine the future of this country. Not just because there's an election here, but because we live in a world that is so different. War is raging in almost every region in the world. The planet is on a serious collision course with climate. We know it. In St. George here in Harrow Bridge the other day, a man lost his life with a freak flood. Just easy so. I ask you to seriously play your role as a citizen, not just of this constituency, but of this country. And let us play our part to stabilize Barbados and to make sure that we can continue the good work. We have had 18 straight quarters of economic growth. That is why I can stand on this platform and increase your reverse tax credit, increase your welfare benefits, give you a cost of living cash grant, increase your tax allowances as a pensioner. That is why I can stand on this platform and tell you that even though we have bought 121 electric buses, we will be buying another 35 before the end of this year. And I ask you, let us continue the work so that our country can grow, and that you, as individual Bajans, can have a better stake in this country. I leave you with one thing that they say is a gimmick, and that is the Bajan birthright dividend. We have determined that every child born under the Republic, in other words, from the 30th of November 2021, should have a start in life. It is the equivalent of each of you who is born being given something to lift you up. We have said that we will give each of those children the equivalent of a share of $5,000 that will work for them from birth until somewhere between 18 years old and 25 years old. They can use it to unlock a mortgage. They can use it to be able to help them in the event that what they want to study is not paid for by the government of Barbados in Barbados. Or they can use it if, God forbid, there are life-threatening circumstances. If Ralph Thorne and the Democratic Labour Party believes it is a gimmick, I say simply to them, stand on the sidelines and watch. And I say to you, yet again, give it a vote and watch me, because when we bring that legislation, and we put the money in the fund, you will then see how much gimmick it is. It is a real plan to give ordinary people in this country a start in life. And for you to even not find common purpose on this tells me that you are so consumed with your own electoral fortunes that you cannot even see good where good is staring you in the face. And that good is to give every Bajan baby the ability to leave the hospital with three things: a birth certificate, an ID card, and a share certificate in the future of this country. My friends, that is what thinking long-term is about. And I say to you tonight, it is not only the Chinese who can do it. It is not only the Indians who can do it. It is not only people who have long civilizations can do it. We have to learn to see the world not only in terms of the short-term needs of tomorrow, but to build for our future. And if we understand that cash in pocket is not wealth, it becomes wealth when you transfer cash from generation to generation to generation. And I believe our people in Barbados are worthy of being owners of wealth in the land of their birth. And if this government can start that process and can give you the opportunity as a godmother, as a parent, as an elder sister or brother, to add to that 5,000 for every birthday, for every Christmas, or decide that you working and $10 every week got to go in that kit for that child of yours, or $20 or whatever you put, that is the culture of savings that will distinguish us from many other countries. And as a people, it will make us stronger. So while we focus on the immediacy of now and the here and now, we must never forget our ability to plan for the future. Most of us in this crowd can remember what we were doing 10 and 15 and 20 years ago. And therefore, for a child to receive now, this year, money, and for those who are already 4 years old, they only have 14 years more to wait. So I say, look, trust me, you have a clear choice. And I ask you to make that choice on Wednesday. And I ask you to give me Neil Rowe, because in Neil Rowe I have an ordinary Barbadian who sees people, who hears people, who feels people, and who is there for people when they most need it. And Neil, I salute you for going through what you went through in the last few years, and for allowing the character of your personality to allow you still to remain focused on the people. Give me Neil Rowe, give me the Barbados Labour Party on Wednesday with your vote, and with all of that, let me give you the assurance that we will carry you from strength to strength to strength, and we will continue to make this community and this constituency a stronger and better constituency, and for you, a stronger and better life. Good night, and God bless you all. Thank you very much.